Learn to stabilize your emotions and escape negativity. A person with stable emotions is truly remarkable. When everyone around them is in a bad emotional state, they can help you break free from negativity. If someone cannot control their emotions, even if you give them the whole world, they will eventually destroy it all. When you cannot master your mood, you will inevitably become a slave to your emotions. Ancient wisdom greets you all. Today, we will discuss how to help you become a person with stable emotions and escape negativity. In psychology, there is a term called the wild horse effect. This suggests that what defeats us is not the event itself, but the emotions that arise from it. On the African savanna, there is a type of blood-sucking fly that attaches itself to the legs of wild horses to feed. No matter how fast the horse runs or how angry it gets, it cannot do anything about the fly. In fact, many horses are tormented to death. However, zoologists have discovered that the amount of blood these flies suck is actually very small, not enough to kill the horses. The real reason wild horses die is their anger and panic, which cause them to run themselves to exhaustion. In real life, we are often controlled by this wild horse effect. For example, if you argue with your partner in the morning, it can ruin your mood for the entire day. You might then snap at work, even clash with clients, and end up achieving nothing. Therefore, we need to learn to distinguish whether the problem lies in the event or in our emotions when faced with a bad situation. The key to managing emotions is awareness. We need to learn a concept called emotional resilience. What is emotional resilience? I explained it in a previous video, which you can revisit. In short, we should not be overly sensitive to everything and should not rush to judgment. Take it slow because we are now bombarded with too much information, most of which is complex. Often, sensitivity can deceive us and make us emotional. Therefore, we must learn to simplify. Emotional resilience is an ability that needs to be learned. It's hard to live without understanding everything, but don't let emotions control you. In reality, events cannot crush us, but emotions can. In life, we will always encounter people who are dissatisfied with us or say unpleasant things. At such times, you need emotional resilience. Listen and then let it go, don't dwell on it. Just eat, rest, and live normally without being affected. The lifespan of an emotion is only 90 seconds. Within 90 seconds, the emotion cannot be controlled. But if after 90 seconds, your emotion still lingers, it's because you have chosen to prolong it. For example, when an emotion hits and you don't realize it, you are completely immersed in it, and the emotion can last for several minutes, even half an hour. Some people particularly like to make decisions when emotions are high because it feels comfortable, while restraint feels uncomfortable. But I can assure you that there is a 95% chance you will regret your decision. Therefore, when negative emotions arise, try to stay calm, don't act, don't make decisions. Speak less, think less. You don't need to let everyone know the real you or constantly explain to others what kind of person you are. This is completely unnecessary because people only want to see what they want to see from you. I increasingly don't want to explain if it doesn't affect my interests. Even if someone spreads false rumors behind my back, I won't waste time correcting them. Because those who trust you will naturally trust you. Those who don't will not believe you no matter how much you explain. Be yourself. Don't let unnecessary people make you feel unnecessary emotions. There is a story about two people encountering a lion in the African jungle. At that moment, one person suddenly became very calm, bent down to tie his shoelaces. The other person felt puzzled and asked, "Why are you tying your shoelaces? We can't outrun the lion anyway." The person tying his shoelaces didn't look up, just calmly replied, "I just need to run faster than you." Although this story sounds a bit dark, it shows that in the same situation, some people generate negative emotions, while others can create positive emotions to face difficulties. Why do smart people often not let emotions control them? Someone once said, "Pay attention to those around you. All those who easily get angry are not wise, and their lives are usually chaotic." Never get angry, because all anger is a manifestation of stupidity. Smart people have only one goal in mind: solving problems. If they can't solve it, they change their approach and try again. They don't let emotions derail them. Emotions only create problems, they cannot solve them. No one can control your emotions unless you don't forgive yourself. Everyone has their own story, they've just learned to control it. Pythagoras once said, "Anger begins with folly and ends with regret." In life, we often encounter things that make us angry. At such times, you must learn to use reason to control yourself. For example, some people get into minor car accidents and start shouting. They feel that if they don't fight, they will lose face. At that moment, your mind is taken over by an impulse. But this is a normal physiological response, stemming from our ancestors' evolution. When facing danger, either fight or flee. So, when anger or fear overwhelms you, all the knowledge you've learned, all the education and books, become useless. At that moment, you revert to the primitive state of an animal. But you must remind yourself not to lose the ancestral instinct of control. At that moment, do you choose to fight or flee? Those who choose to get angry are choosing to flee because they are avoiding rather than solving the problem. In communication, there is an advanced technique called emotionless communication. A child went to the park with his mother. The child wanted to buy an ice cream, and the mother bought it for him. But the child didn't hold it firmly and dropped it. The mother scolded loudly, "Don't you know how to hold it carefully? You just bought it and haven't even eaten it yet." But the child wisely replied, "Mom, I know I was wrong, but why can't you talk to me calmly?" This is a manifestation of emotional stability. In fact, we often misunderstand that adding emotions will make others understand us better. But that's not the case. This is the concept of relaxation that is very popular online. Many people don't have this sense of relaxation. For example, when traveling and forgetting to bring something, or the hotel is fully booked because you forgot to reserve, we often feel like life is falling apart. But in reality, what's done is done, you just need to find a solution. And usually, the problem is very small. Remember, don't let anger exceed your capabilities. If you can't handle the consequences, don't indulge in your erratic emotions. A professor once told a funny joke in class. The whole class laughed loudly. Then he continued with his serious lecture. Not long after, he told the same joke again with excitement. This time, only a few students laughed awkwardly. Unexpectedly, after a while, he told the joke again in detail. This time, no one laughed. The class looked at each other in surprise, thinking the professor had a mental problem. At that moment, the professor slowly said, "You can't keep laughing at the same joke, but why do you keep suffering from the same sad story? Anger is using others' mistakes to punish yourself. Anxiety is using your own mistakes to torment yourself. What hurts you the most is not the knife someone stabs you with, but the fact that you keep pulling it out, looking at it, getting angry, and stabbing yourself again. The repeated injury is the greatest pain for us. So, keep moving forward, let the pain fade, and look ahead, don't live in the painful past." There are two highly effective psychological techniques to reduce negative emotions. The first is future-oriented psychology. You can recall things that once made you sad or angry, such as heartbreak, betrayal, failing exams, or being fired. No matter how big or small, when you look back now, how much of those negative emotions remain? This is the power of future-oriented psychology. No matter what unpleasant situation or negative emotion you encounter now, try to think from the perspective of the future. Ask yourself, how will I feel in 10 minutes? Will this matter in 10 days? Even in 10 years? The answer is clear. No matter how big the problem, in the long run, it becomes insignificant. The second psychology is survivor psychology. From a young age, we are taught to strive, to compare ourselves with those who are better, and to ask, why not me? A sociological survey shows that most people focus on the 10% chance of failure rather than the 90% chance of success. It's like having $100 and losing 10. Few think they are lucky to still have 90. Most complain about losing the 10. So, even with the same objective event, people with different psychologies will view it from different angles, and the results will differ. When negative emotions arise, think from the perspective of a survivor. Only then can you live more positively and happily. There is a story about Buddha. One day, Buddha was walking in a village when a rude and angry young man began to insult him. The young man said, "You are of no help to anyone. In fact, you are as foolish as everyone else." However, Buddha was not angry and gently asked, "If you give someone a gift and they do not accept it, who does the gift belong to?" The young man was astonished by Buddha's question. He thought for a moment and replied, "Of course, it belongs to me because I bought it." Buddha smiled and said, "You are right, and this is like your anger. If you are angry with me and I do not accept it, the anger will return to you. If you want to stop hurting yourself, you must learn to control your anger and replace it with love. When you hate others, you become unhappy. When you love others, what you receive is also love, and everyone will be happy." In reality, it's not that we cannot control our emotions, but the price we pay is not high enough. When the consequences of negative emotions are severe enough, we will learn to control them. People only learn from mistakes when they suffer significant losses. If they haven't learned yet, it's because the price they paid was not heavy enough. For example, your anger might cost you your job or make your partner leave you. In fact, how we handle problems is related to thinking fast or slow. In the book Thinking, Fast and Slow, the author mentions that the human brain is divided into two systems. System 1 is emotional, intuitive, and impulsive. Most people act according to this system because it is the brain's default and consumes less energy. System 2 is logical, rational, and requires more concentration. That's why many people often react impulsively. Successful people are usually those who live beyond their natural instincts. How to better control emotions. If you have never paid a price for a problem, you will not learn to control it. But if you have experienced significant losses, you will gradually learn to restrain yourself. You need to understand that, whether you are an employee or an entrepreneur, you do not only belong to yourself but also to your customers and your company. Often, the problem is not in the way of communication but in emotions. If you do not control your emotions well, good things can turn bad. When you understand that anger will bring irreparable losses, you will learn to suppress it. There is a very simple method to immediately soothe anger. When you feel angry, just perform a small action: nod your head. When you nod, the level of emotional tension will immediately decrease, and you will feel everything becomes more acceptable. A famous person once said, "If something affects your emotions, your focus should be on controlling your emotions, not on the person who affected you." Emotional stability helps people become more rational, giving others a sense of security, closeness, and trust. Do you believe that mindset can change destiny? There is a story about a businessman who started from scratch and became wealthy. However, he later lost everything and felt like a failure, even wanting to commit suicide. One night, as he was about to jump into a river, he suddenly saw a little girl sitting by the shore. The businessman asked her, "What are you doing here so late?" The girl replied, "I'm going to jump into the river." The businessman asked why, and the girl said, "My boyfriend and I broke up. I love him so much, I can't live without him." Hearing this, the businessman laughed and asked, "Before you met your boyfriend, how did you live?" The girl was surprised and suddenly enlightened. "That's right, before I met him, I was living just fine." The girl decided not to commit suicide. Then she asked the businessman, "Why are you here?" The businessman replied, "Nothing, I'm just here for a walk." Because at that moment, he thought, "I started from scratch before, now that I've lost everything, it's no big deal. I'll just start over." And then, the businessman truly rebuilt his career from scratch. So, when facing the same situation, the result will differ depending on our mindset. Remember, mindset is the fastest way to change destiny. We need to learn to accept unexpected losses in life: spilled milk, lost wallets, breakups, failed friendships. Before that, stop and tell yourself to accept it. If you can't smile, stay silent. Don't care too much about what you think is important, because if you don't care, no one can hurt you. Life is not always chaotic, but some people choose to panic, while others choose silence. You don't need to pretend that you are living well, because few people really care how you are living. Everyone is ordinary, just live your life well. Lost money can be earned back, lost jobs can be found again, lost friends can be reconnected, lost love can be found again. Life is essentially starting from zero, so why fear starting over? If before going to bed, you can forgive everything, then when you wake up, you will be reborn. There was a chubby little boy who was often teased by his friends, making him angry. Every time someone laughed at him, he would fight. His mother, who loved him dearly, went to see his teacher to discuss the issue. The teacher advised the boy, "Why don't you just ignore their teasing? Let them laugh, why do you care?" The boy replied, "I can't stand it, they can't keep laughing at me like this." At that time, the school invited a psychologist. The psychologist invited the boy and the group of friends who teased him to his office. He said, "We are going to play a game. Later, the group can tease the boy freely, say whatever you want, just don't touch him. And the boy, if you can't listen to everyone teasing you for 5 minutes without getting angry, you will win $500. But if you get angry, the group wins." The boy was excited. "If I win $500, I can buy a bicycle." The other kids continued to tease him. "You're so fat, if you sit on a bicycle, the tires will burst." The psychologist laughed and said, "Then you can try. If you get angry, the $500 will belong to them. They will have teased you and earned money." When the game started, the group used every mean word to tease the boy. Do you think the boy got angry? He just gritted his teeth and kept repeating, "It's okay, I won't get angry, I have $500. After 5 minutes, the group was exhausted from teasing him, but the boy remained calm and won $500. The psychologist said, "We will upgrade the game. This time, the bet is $1,000, but the duration is 5 days. If within 5 days, you don't get angry when called fat, you win." After that, the group didn't want to play anymore, and time passed. The psychologist told the boy, "You have the right to get angry about some things that truly hurt you. But I want to tell you that you also have the right not to get angry. Whether to get angry or not is your choice, not others' decision." This experiment changed the boy. It's not that he no longer gets angry, but he understands that getting angry is his own choice. From then on, the weight issue no longer bothered him throughout his school years. This is a great experiment. We don't need to try to change whether others tease us or not, we just need to change how we face the teasing. You have the right to get angry, to suffer, to be sad, but at the same time, you also have the right to live happily. It's all your choice. There is no right or wrong, it's just whether you want to or not. People who control their emotions are usually very self-disciplined. They don't have time to indulge in emotions because they know what is more important. Instead of changing others, they choose to change themselves, live with dignity and moderation. They understand what it means to let go and forgive, no longer arguing over trivial matters, but just smiling and letting it go. Even if someone says the air is sweet, they just smile and nod. Not because they agree, but because it has nothing to do with their life. Instead of arguing, They choose to appreciate and enjoy. People who don't let emotions control them are no longer weak or naive, they have great inner strength. It's truly admirable. Why do you always feel angry? Because you are too strict and pursue perfection in human character. This is not entirely a negative term. So, what is perfection in human character? It's when you always demand high moral standards from others, and if someone doesn't meet those standards, you get angry. But we need to remember that all the good traits of human character should be used to demand from ourselves, not as a measure to judge others. People with emotional perfection often demand very strictly from others but do not demand the same from themselves. We always expect others to meet our needs. Therefore, we use our standards to demand from them. We try to control others to act according to our expectations. But when others don't accept our control and disappoint us, we feel frustrated. For example, when someone doesn't respond as expected, you might feel their words are unreasonable and get angry. But in reality, it has nothing to do with the content of their words but with your inner expectations. Because their reaction doesn't meet your expectations, you think they shouldn't say that. But if you have no expectations, no matter how they treat you, you won't feel angry. So, instead of criticizing and trying to change others, focus on letting go of your own expectations. You need to learn to express anger, not let anger control you. Sometimes, we feel very angry, but we can express it in the right way, not just vent blindly. I once saw a business owner. He was obviously very angry, but he calmly said that we had agreed on this in the contract, but you violated it twice. This made me very thoughtful. He did not shout, but directly expressed his emotions. This is a very powerful force. Only when you feel stressed, intelligence has a chance to appear and the brain can work effectively. Not being able to control emotions is not because of anger, but because of overheating. Emotional stability is not anger, but expressing anger when necessary. Don't always be so easy to the point of excess. There is nothing wrong with expressing anger, just don't be too hot-tempered. Stop, calm down and then give the best response. Anger can happen when you are provoked by others, influenced and let others control you. But when you express your outbursts consciously, you set clear boundaries for others. This is very important. If we do not control our stressful emotions, it will affect our family and social relationships. Therefore, we need to learn to stay calm and handle anger in a way that will definitely express emotions appropriately, instead of letting emotions control us. From a psychological point of view, you need to remember the following 5 sayings. Saying number 1. No one can hurt you unless you allow it. Saying number 2. When you feel pain, change yourself instead of trying to change others. Anyone who is in pain must change. Saying number 3. Other people's feelings are not related to you. Don't interfere too much and don't tolerate other people's feelings. Saying number 4. Thoughts are not the same as facts. When you feel upset, observe the way you think. This may help you. Sentence 5. Emotions are temporary. They won't last forever. Accept them and feel them. They will pass automatically.